Hi, Keith Lundholm here with New Vintage Automotive, and in this video series we're going to be covering the Opel key system for the all classic Opels ranging from the early 60s to 1975. So in this video we'll be covering the GT, Cadet, and even the 50 series. I'll show you the differences with the keys. I'll show you where to find your codes in case you've lost a key, and what to do if you have lost a key and you want to get a new one made. Don't forget to hit my like button and subscribe. That way you'll be updated on new videos that come out. Thanks for watching. Okay, so this is my key box that I take to car shows so I can cut in person on the fly. And what I do, you notice I've got things numbered. I'll carry all kinds of, you know, extra cylinders. I don't know why. I mean, I never do a whole handle or anything on the spot, but I keep all my NOS stuff that is key related in here. Like this is for a Cadet. And also I got, these are some NOS keys. Now these are an earlier cut, and you can tell an original key by this pattern that's on it. And original key is a 105. And you can see this one is even stamped CC, so you know what profile it is. And early Cadet was really good about, and even early GT was good about actually having the code stamped on the key. So you could easily jot it down, and if you had a spare key, you just look at the key and send the code in. Now some of these are I believe an early Cadet, which instead of 105 on the key, no, those are CCs. Instead of 105 on the key, it has a 296, which is a C cut, and that's for, that appears to be for a, you know, earlier, like Cadet A. Like, I don't even see in here, but one's got a 296, one's got a 4 dash something. You know, there's all kinds of old profiles that I've got that I've never cut, and I don't know if even my carriage would work for them, because I've just never had to cut one. I've also got, I keep just extra brands of keys in here by the bag. You know, again, anything key related. There was a run of these OP19 keys that I got that were actually cut on the wrong side. The double groove was cut on this side, and you talk about a nightmare on figuring that one out. And it was like every one of them was bad, and I think I finally just threw them away. I might have kept one just for reference. And this is the most important drawer here. This is every gas cap key that there is, and you can see I've labeled them, each one. I spent, gosh, years on this, cutting all these keys and buying them and cutting blanks, and on a whim that I knew the sequence, and I figured it out. Well, there goes that one. But anyways, what I do when I get a gas cap and everything's good in it, you know, it doesn't have a broken key in it or anything like that, is I'll sit here and I'll go through this drawer until I find the right key. Now sometimes I'll find a couple keys that work, and I will pick out the best one that will work perfectly. Then in this bottom, I keep just GT, Cadet, door cylinders. And the reason I do bring these is in case I pull someone's ignition and they have a non-matching ignition to door handles, I'll look through my door handles and see if I've actually got that code. And then I kind of help them out as I eliminate one key that they have to shuffle through to figure out what they've got. So I keep ignitions in here. I keep sets, pairs together. Like here's almost a complete Cadet set. This is just missing the trunk latch, but these are all coded together. I used to have a lot of GT ones, but of course those are the most popular, and they go through them. These are tools for cutting the keys that go in in my tool, which we're going to discuss that here in a second. And more NOS. NOS. It says it's an early Cadet, so non 50 series. And just parts and pieces I keep in here. But I'll take this to shows, cut keys on the spot. I keep a supply of all 3 cuts, gas cap keys, and other BB cuts. This is what I wanted to show you. Don't assume that the gas cap key is going to be that cut. Always go by the number, because see, this is a 079JC as in cat, and the correct one is JB as in boy. So this is basically a gas cap cut key with this CC code. So JC, and this one's a BB cut, JB. That's how you tell the difference. So they make all these keys in all different cuts. So don't assume it's a gas cap key just because of the shape of it. Now we're going to go over more on taking apart some of the cylinders and reworking them. Okay, so you've got your GT door handle, and this is typical. See that key opening? See how it's just all jacked up? The door, there's a little stainless steel flap that covers the key slot, and they get damaged and beat up, and people they think they're going to stick a screwdriver in there and turn that lock. So I pull these out all the time. Sometimes I get spares, and I'll rework them. Anyway, so to speed up this video a little bit, I've got one cylinder that's already out. Okay, what you've got is inside this, you got this clip, you got a C-clip. Sometimes these pop right out, sometimes they don't, and that's why I just did it off video. And then you have a backup washer and then a spring. So the spring, pushes it back, and your clip is in here. Typically I take a flat blade, little flat blade screwdriver, pry it up, and pop it out. Actually, I probably could have got this one out pretty easy. So, anyways, it's out. Okay, now these have a square cut O-ring at the base of them, and a lot of times they get brittle and they break. You could leave these out, or you might be able to get a small enough O-ring that's tight that doesn't interfere and put it in there. It just kind of help keep moisture out of these. But A lot of times it's null and void. And I'm cleaning out some grease here where these chrome caps, you see right there, they got a little dot. The dot is right in the middle. This even has a little locating dot. You know, it has nothing to do with that, but you know, it lines up, so you know it's right down the side of it. And so they're peened, and really the best way I found is to get a little drill, and I like to do them. I'll hold them, and I'll drill that spot, and it'll pop on you. It'll grab a little bit, and you know you're done, and you need to stop. Oh, see, it grabs, so I know it's there. These are bits from Matco that got a little step to them, and that step is about perfect for that hole. So you can see I drilled that one, and I drilled that one. And then most cases I can hold this and watch, it'll slide right off, okay? And it'll leave the door there, which of course this is a different one, so the door was in better shape. Not necessarily the chrome, but I mean it is okay. And the O-ring came off with it, like so. So I'll save that. Like I said, I try to save a bunch of those because a lot of them get broken. So anyways, this chrome cap, you can clean it up, and you know, there's not much polishing you can do when it's worn. This is actually a chrome plated, and you know, once you see like a brass color, you're into the copper of the chrome plating. So this is what the cylinder looks like without the cap, and it's got this little cover on, and it just pries off. You got two little tabs here in a flat place where you can lightly pry it up. This is kind of like peened over that disc. So on the inside here, you got to take this off to get to this. So there's two little legs that I'll get my pliers on, and you just bend them out. And you saw the rod just came out then. And I like to kind of note, you know, there's a thin bar and there's a thick bar. And that rod will kind of point in a certain way from it. I think you could actually put it in backwards and it's not going to affect it, but once you got these ears out, you rotate this like 45 degrees and it'll pop right off. So you can kind of see it's got those two fingers that actually just hold that stem in place. And then you have the cylinder, which will now pull out. Okay, pulls it right out. And this has basically one way it can go in once you've keyed it. Okay, so being this ain't messed up, I'm going to leave it. But I will, after this video, I will show pulling it out. But now, I could have cut a key for this, it worked just fine. That had been no problem. What I want to do is I want to code this. I want this to work with a regular key that, let's say I've got for an ignition. So what I'm going to do, this has never been totally seen before, but this is my can of keys, okay? So kind of hard to say, but I think I got the original can of keys beat. Okay, so here's a key. Here's a C. This was a CC cut. So I already know, you know, what profile I can use with it. If I have a BB ignition, I want to find a BB door lock. Because it doesn't matter. We're gonna make it fit. Oh, this one's going to be super easy. So when I put this key in, and normally I would clean this up too, but I don't know if you can see. Yeah, right there. 1, 2. That's all I've got sticking up is 2 wafers. And the simple dirty way is to mark these. So I remember which ones. And you'll notice there's like holes up along this side, and then there's holes up along this side. Well, that's where the spring is. And they come out that way of the hole. So I've marked these 2. I'll take the key out, and I'll take a flat blade screwdriver, and I'm going to push those wafers out. Now, I'm not hurting anything here because, see, that simply just pops out. And it's got a little ledge that pushes against a spring. A little spring's in there. I could put this back together and cut the key, and it'll work with that key. All you care about is when a key's out of it, that you have enough wafers sticking out to actually lock it. Okay? So I've got, you know, 4 or 5 wafers that stick out. And that's plenty. So now I'm going to take that key that I tried, and I'm going to put it in that cylinder the right way. Let's see. Okay, there we go. And voila, smooth. It's flush. So then I'll take it to that housing, put it in, and it should turn. Okay, and it does. It's a little, sometimes what I got to do is clean out this slot. It's got trash. I like to brake clean these. This really doesn't have any others that are holding it, so it should be good. And it will turn. It needs a little lube, but I'm getting a turn out of it. And it could be, you know, I might have this one dragging a little bit. Let's just pop it out while we're at it. Yeah, a little grease goes a long way with this too. Not a lot of grease, just a little bit. Okay. So, key back in it. Lock cylinder. And there we go. There's a certain way, it's got a little notch, it'll turn the most. Okay, so we've got that. Now, we could simply put that O-ring back on and put this cylinder cover. I do like to take a file and deburr where we drilled it, just knock off the edge. But I put it, you know, here's the hole we drilled, which there was a hole there originally that they detent into. But I'm going to put it back, and I'm gonna line up my holes. Now there's 2 ways you can do this. You could put a little epoxy in there to hold this, but what I like to do, I like to rotate it just a little bit. And remember, I said you can line up those divots with the side of this. Right, it's right down the middle. And so I take a punch and a hammer, and I'll put it right where my new divot's going to be, and I'll hammer it down, and that'll stake it right in place. But before I do that, as promised, I'm going to I'm going to pull out the I'm going to pull out this little door so you can see it, and I'll show you the parts in it. So I'm just going to take it right there on the bottom edge and just pop it up. A lot of times the door will stay, so you don't have to worry about it flying out. But don't get crazy here, you know. So okay, so this is the disc cover. And this one's got a little tweak. I'd probably take this body hammer and put it on a flat surface and shape it a little bit. And then you have this door that's on a hinge pin, a little micro hinge pin, and it's got a little spring. So the spring springs it back up against it. And these are easy. They just pull out. Sometimes there would be a little tension on them, but I don't know if, yeah, I think you can see. That's one leg of the spring, and the spring's on that pin too. And I just dropped the pin. But, you know, of course. Well, anyways, but that goes right back in if you don't drop it. And then you can put this cover back on and then pin it. And I'll try to find that pin, and it doesn't look like I'm going to find it. So anyways, we're off to the next thing anyways. So that's how to take one apart and actually rekey it for your key. And then the assembly is just the reverse of what we did. Now, I haven't totally decoded all these little wafers, but they're set at different depths and stuff, and I'm hoping to eventually kind of figure out the sequence, and I can look at a key code and find the depth cut and kind of I can read a key and tell you what the code is as far as the pattern. And I hope to be able to, you know, put some back and make it a little more lockable, as you know, where you have as many wafers as you can that lock it, which for us it's not a really big issue. So the next thing I want to show is the ignition switch for the GT. Cadet's the same. Manta's a little more involved, so we don't mess with those. Usually don't have a problem. But anyways, a lot of times these covers break off. You can see this one is popped off. You know, this one had a completely black plastic cover on it, where this one's a pot metal with a chrome. It's got a chrome insert in. So that's the difference. But looking at them externally, you know, this one is probably an early. It has no key buzzer, where this one has the slot for the key buzzer and stuff built in. So this is probably for a 1969 steering column, and there will be some differences there. Anyways, want to take one of these apart? You got to even if you've got it out, you're in good shape. A lot of times people will hammer on them with a punch on these pins and to get these out without a key, and you can do that if you're careful. But what tends to happen is those wafers I showed you, they'll get jammed in and it'll mess up the lock. So what I'm going to show you right now is how to take this apart. And on this piece, now this one's actually broken, but it's still a good sample, is right here is a little pin. It's a one-way pin. It only goes in, and it's got to come out the way it came out. Okay? So you can see it there. I'm going to take some pliers. I've already played with this one, so it should come out pretty easy for me. Okay, so there's the pin. Save the pin. And now with the pin loose, you can pull this cylinder right out. Don't have to worry about this unless it's busted or something. But this is the key, and of course I have this is the correct key for this. You see when it's out, it won't be as drastic, but those wafers pop out, and that's what locks it. And now's the time, if you've got a key that's broke into this in the tip, I can usually work it out with a small pick and get it out. But I don't usually have a broken key issue in these. But anyways, same thing. If you've got a key that is the same profile as that, like that was a BB profile, so you got a BB key that's already cut, that say it matches your door handles. Well, same thing. You put that foreign key in it. I'm gonna put this other key. I know it's a different code, and I see 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4. You can even sand or grind on them, grind them down, and not even take them out. You just got to make sure you don't leave any burrs or anything where they stick. But you know, there's a few popping up over here. So, but you could still take out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these wafers, and you're still going to have 2 or 3 holding it up, and it's not going to turn with those. So you could get away with that. That's not impossible. And then when you're done, you can simply goes back the way you found it. Get it up here. Get your pin. Place it in that hole. And a lot of times I'll do this with the pliers. Sometimes you know, I gotta take a little hammer to it. I can squeeze it right in, and then we're back in. I thought that was my key. Oh, okay, yeah, it was. This is actually broke right here, and this is catching. So it's good for demonstration purposes. But so if you got some patience, you buy some extra handles and you got some extra parts, you can actually go through these and rebuild them. I do this for customers all the time. I mean, you want to send them to me, I can usually make them work for you. If not, I have plenty of extra cylinders that we can swap out and go from there. So the next I'm going to talk about is cutting keys. And so stick around for that video, or that segment of video. Okay, so for cutting keys, I have an old school Curtis clipper with the Opel wheel, and this system comes with carriages. And I have one for CC cuts, and I got one for BB cuts. And you put the appropriate carriage in. Well, let me do a BB. This is a BB cut. I'll put it in. And let's go ahead and cut a key. I need a spare for this one. This ignition is a BB 621. So I have a chart that locksmiths usually have. Opel service bulletins and different things. So I go through this, and there's, I mean, just to show you how many codes there are, this chart goes up to I want to say 2,500. 900s, 20, and a 20, basically 3,000. So there's 3,000, or almost 3,000 possible codes. Yeah, it goes up to 3,000 for all our Opels from the 60s to 1975. Okay, I'm not sure about the European ones after that, 76 and such. They're similar, but I think they're a bit different. Anyways, so I'll go through my list till I find 621. It's either going to be CC or BB. It doesn't matter. And this will tell me the cuts I need to make on the shoulder side, which this is that little edge. That's a shoulder. That's that cut side. And the plain side, which is no step to it. So I start with the shoulder side, and I'll start in the number 1 position. And this tells me it's a 3-2-1-1-3. So I'll start with my 3 notch up on the wheel, and I'll make a cut. I just squeeze the lever, and it cuts it. Then I'll move it to the next position, which is a 2, and I'll cut it. Now, 1s you don't have to cut on the BB profile, but the CC you do. The last number is a 3. Then I flip the key around, run it back, and start through that number, which is a 1, which we won't cut, 2, 5, 5. Now, somebody once said there's no jump from a 2 to a 5. That's not the case in Opel. They do it all the time, so whoever said that is wrong. These 5 cuts are so deep, I gotta usually reset this lever to cut them again. But that went from a 2 to a 5, and then it goes back to a 2. So those are some big, deep cuts in it. And normally, since I don't have my wire brush in here, I usually run this on a wire brush to knock down these hard edges. Or sharp points, but that's my key. I'll match it up. Looks good. Try it in a cylinder. Turns the cylinder. No problem. So that's how I can cut your key with just a code. You send me a code. You email it to me at newvintageauto@yahoo.com. I can cut your key. Now, I haven't done these, but this is an actual master set for the early keys. And you can see, they kind of got a weird toothed head to them. I'll try to reach out and show you that. Now this is actually 4 keys, all cut at different depths, and they're marked 1, 2, 3, and 4. Well, this way. They got a 1 on them and stuff. It says a Series P and 04. Now that is actually how you'll cut these keys. Same thing. There'll be codes for this. I'm not sure if I necessarily have the codes for these or not, but I can, get them. Then I can go by this to know position 1 is a 2 depth. I can compare it to this and cut it. I've even got a carriage for these now that I just recently actually got. So I should be able to cut those too, but I've never had to. I've never had a request for these. But it's neat that I actually found a set that was, cut like that. So it's kind of like not really a master key. There is no master key, but anyways, so I have that too. And I wanted to show you again some NOS keys. Here's the NOS Gas Cap Key, and you can see how it's got the texture on it, and it's a 105, and then it's got a little BB decal in there. You know, I'm sure there was some way they could stamp that and then put it in your owner's manual when they cut you a key. Going back on the can of keys, just show you, some of the differences. Of course, these are all 50 series keys, but in particular, I want to show you a Cadet Key, which should be able to pop up pretty quick. Here we go. So these are actually stamped with the code, which makes it convenient if someone wants a copy. I have a replicator, but I don't like to use it because when you make a copy of a copy of a copy, it starts getting pretty sloppy. And I didn't mean to rhyme just then, but that's just how it goes. I use my factory cut, and then I know it's a fresh cut. And now your door cylinder may be worn out. Sometimes I gotta really spray and lube these and free them up because they're just gummed up. I've cut a key, I know it's correct, and it still won't work. Doesn't mean it. It could be someone has monkeyed with it and jacked it up. But used to loan these out, and then the original can of keys went missing, and after that I was like, nah, I don't want to lose my keys. I'm not interested in that. So here's another earlier style cut, blank, and that really covers the keys in a nutshell. I'm sorry that video ended up being long too, but there's a lot to discuss. Well, that wraps up this video series for today, but be sure to subscribe to our videos so you can catch up on our latest videos, where I will be showing the Opel GT gas cap. We're going to take this thing apart. I'm going to show you, there's a couple ways of doing it, but I have a preferred way that's seems to be pretty easy. Not necessarily, I never take them apart to rekey them unless there's a key broken in them or something is fouled up with it. So appreciate you watching the video. I hope you like it, and subscribe, and be on the lookout for that newest video. Thanks again.